Okay, well, we're back to our little tailstock. You guys probably recognize that little fellow right there. And this is the one where we've got a few thousandths of clearance on each side. And if you look closely, you can see where it rides in the groove. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, it might be actual wear. I think we came up with like 3.8 thousandths of slop. And let's look at the other side. Trying to get it to catch the light there. But you know, some of that might be wear. We don't know. It might be just a mismatch thing. Someone might have thought it was a good idea to give it a regrind, you know, and regrind the sides and take off some rust, whatever. Anyways, we've got 3.8 thousandths of slop, if I remember correctly. I've slept since then, but it doesn't really matter what it is. We've got the Turcite that came in. This is it's got like a bonding backing layer, and then the other layer, which is almost like a Teflon. So only one side can be glued. I don't think anything would stick to that other side. It's so slippery, and it's got some interesting characteristics, and I'm going to demonstrate a couple of those. First of all, we bought 1/64th. So we are 16, or actually 15.5 thousandths all the way through, and it's very consistent. The other characteristic of this stuff is it's got a mind of its own. You know, they had it rolled in a very tight little roll, and I got it here on the surface plate, trying to get it to, you know, flatten out and clean your surface plate really good. Things burnish into this very easily. And actually, I thought I'd demonstrate that just in a little corner. I'm just going to get one metal shaving and put it on the plate, and then just take on this backside. I'm just going to run a block over it and show you how easily it embeds into that Turcite, which I believe is a characteristic that is desirable. So let me go find a metal shaving. Gee, I don't know where I'm going to find that, but let me go find a metal shaving, and I'll be right back. Well, I didn't have to look too far. Right there on my middle finger, I got a few very small focus. Yeah, I got a few very small metal shavings. I'm just gonna kind of put them under the corner over here. And as you can see, I got them there all rounded up. I'm just gonna lay them under there. And now I'm just going to rub a 1, 2, 3 block over that. Okay, I got you zoomed in. And as you can see hopefully right there and there, that's where I scraped those metal shavings off. And I'm just going to take this 1, 2, 3 block and just rub it right over there. And you can totally feel that. You can totally feel it slamming into it. You can see what it's doing back up here in the back. But if you got a metal shaving in a way or something like that, this is what's going to happen. There they are right there. They're burnished right into the back of that, and it pulled up every single one off the plate. So it's a very soft material, and burnishing you know, metal shavings and stuff in there, you know, maybe it pulls them out of harm's way, or maybe it puts them in a place where they can do more damage. I mean, this is not to say you shouldn't use wipers on your machines, but you need to keep the metal shavings definitely out of your turcited ways. So, all right, I just thought I'd show you that. I thought that was pretty interesting. My head down in there. If I pulled out all your light, yeah, they really embed deep. Pretty interesting. I wish I had a way for you to get a camera in my microscope. And there they are. And yep. And that's actually permanent damage to the Turcite. So use this as an example, give you an idea how soft this stuff is. Yep. there they all are. My scribe must be a little magnetic, but we got them all out right there. So use this as an example. If you're going to do Turcite, you gotta keep the stuff out of your ways. So here you can see, you can pretty much see all the permanent damage from all the metal shavings. So it will embed into your machine, and they certainly don't come out easily. So if you're going to use Turcite, make sure you get some good wipers in there. Keep those shavings out of your machines, because they're going to stick in there a lot more than two cast iron surfaces or two steel surfaces, whatever your machine, or even your chrome plated scraped ways. They would shed the shavings very easily. All right. Okay, I believe we've got all the metal shavings off the table. All the metal shavings off of our Turcite. To give you some scale, that's the corner we were experimenting with. That's where all the shavings ended up, right there. So we got all those dug out with a pair of magnifiers. I wish I had a way to get you guys in my microscope with the camera, but there's really no way to do it. Maybe I'll get me one of those USB cameras. And let's see, make sure we don't have any other metal shavings in there. Feels good. We'll put our weights back on there. And another thing we should probably mention is the drag on these. If I press down kind of equally here, pull the steel block across the plate, that's got a definite friction. And if I take this, kind of press down here, equal amounts, and slide this Turcite, the Turcite's actually easier to slide on the plate. So the coefficient of friction is actually less than steel on granite, or hardened steel on granite, and we all know how slippery that can be. But this is definitely slipperier. All right. So that's just by feel. There's no strain. I didn't put any strain gauge or anything on it. Another thing you might be able to spot down here in the corner where those pieces burnished in. It pulled you can see the green from the Turcite coming up through the back. So this bonding layer is very, very thin. So I just wanted to convey to you as best I can on a video the characteristics of this stuff. Non-bonding layer, bonding layer. So this can be glued. I'm pretty sure nothing's going to stick to this. If you've ever worked with Teflon sheet or Teflon anything, you know how slippery it is and how nothing actually sticks to Teflon. So I'm going to let this sit and try to flatten it out a little bit. Let's talk about our methods. There was some good discussion in my last video, because I was going to do this. I was going to do 2 buttons just like that, and everyone in the comments said, do strips, do strips. That's funny. It's I don't know if any of you guys even remember this. Mr. Blanders builds his dream house. Cary Grant. Hey buddy, do you want dormers or soffits? Oh, definitely dormers. And Mr. Blanders didn't know the difference. So, it's just, if I did a slot, it would be, just mill a nice little slot right in there, a little oval pocket, and drop the Turcite down in there. So that would constitute a strip. And then my way was buttons, which I thought was fine. But, everyone, the consensus says a slot, a pocket, one groove, in our little leg right here fits all the way in up to there. That's about where that sits in the unit. And right here we are just a shade over 750. So it's measuring 759. So I'm thinking maybe a 1/2 inch pocket. That wouldn't get too dangerously close to the outside. So yeah, I think a 1/2 inch end mill, get in there and just groove me out a pocket. My material is 16 thousandths. I'm thinking of going down about 10 to 12. thousandths after I touch off. Get this in the milling machine very squarely, come down, touch off, and a 10 to 12 thousandths plunge on a groove. And cut this stuff, glue it in an oval, not not buttons, ovals. So we're doing soffits, not dormers, soffits, dormers. All right. So let's get over to the milling machine and see how we do on our pockets. Okay, well, you know, there's times where one project begets another project, side projects, whatever you want to call them. But I dropped my part in, tighten the vise, and you know, I wanted to indicate because I wanted to indicate across the top because I wanted to make sure my pocket was, you know, either 10,000 deep, 12,000 deep, whatever. I wanted it very, very consistent. And now I have it very consistent. But when I first threw it in there, I tightened the vise, and holy moly, it moved like 6 thousandths. The part that was just lifting. And for you guys that don't know, this center hole on a Kurt type vise, this is a Kurt clone, but there's 2 set screws in there, and inside there's a little half ball that creates the downforce. It's a half ball with a wedge, and you get in there with your Allen wrench, pull out the first screw. The second screw is the adjuster, which adjusts the downforce, and get that adjusted, and then you can put your second one in to kind of lock it in there. Haven't done it in forever, but apparently I had about 4 thousandths of jaw lift here. When I tightened up, it went burp, lifted the part up. It was just way out of whack. So real happy with the way it is right now. We can get on to milling. I got 1/2 inch carb in here, and we're gonna do pockets or slots or strips or whatever you guys want to call it, but that's what we're doing. We're giving you your strips. So let's get on with the stripping. Okay, well, there's your first milled pocket, and I was shooting for about 13 thousandths. So let's check that. I'm going to use a Starrett 643 with a needle point on it. And all you do to set these is you set a 0. Just move your dial and set it to 0 when you push the plunger. Move over your target. And there we got 12 and a half, 12, 12, 12. So pretty good. I got a good consistent depth all the way across there. Wasn't really worried about how deep it was. Remember, we were dropping 16 thousandths material inside of a 12 thousandths deep groove. So it's going to be sitting proud, what, 4 thousandths or so per side. So I got the other side to do. And we're not doing buttons, we're doing slots. Okay, so I still got the other side to do. Let me finish that off camera, and then we'll meet you back here for the cutting of the Turcite to drop in that hole. Done the second side, so we're back to our stare. We're going to check zero, check our groove before we take it out. So I don't really care what the depth is, if it was 13 thousandths, 14 thousandths, just so it's equal, you know, so it's equal all the way across. So we got that, both sides done. We're ready to clean and cut our Turcite strips. So that's finished there and finished there. So those are ready for 2 little scraps of Turcite to go in there. Okay, well, we got our pockets done, and I've cut 2 little strips of Turcite here. Just 2 little pieces, that's all you need. And they're a little, well, they're a lot big. But what I want to do, I want to try something and see if I can, as soft as this material is, I want to face it towards the tailstock and see if I can leave an impression on it, so I've got a place to cut. So that might be kind of interesting to do. So I'm just going to put both pieces of Turcite right next to that tailstock, and then I'm going to bring my vise down and give it a squeeze and see what kind of impression that leaves on the Turcite. That might give me a pattern to cut it out with a pair of scissors. This stuff cuts super easy with scissors. Let's see what it did. Well, yeah, kind of did. You can see where it made the impression around there, but also the impression above it is where the vise hold down bolt is. So let me cut that out with scissors and see if we can get it to fit. Well, I wasn't sure if that was going to work, but the impressions that got made on there, let's see if we'll focus on that. There you go. You can just barely see that impression that it made when I clamped it in the vise. So I'm able to follow that with a nice pair of scissors. I got a nice pair of iridium coated Fiskars, so nothing like a Swedish pair of scissors. And just made a little button that goes in that little hard mill spot. Had to do some trimming, make sure it was going to lay flat in there. So it fits in there really good. All that's left is to cut out the other one, and then we can start doing our glue up. And I think we'll do our glue up in the back in the Kurt vise. We'll get everything cleaned with alcohol. We're going to clean in here with alcohol really good. Clean the back of this where our oily hand's been all over it, and then we'll after it's devoid of oil and debris, we'll glue them up. But that's pretty easy to do, surprisingly easy with a kind of a pattern. Okay, we're actually over at the milling machine. I'm going to do this right over here. I've already cleaned everything. I've cleaned it with denatured alcohol. The adhesive we're going to use is Loctite 380. And from my last lesson, I've got the HVAC running, so I'm very low humidity. It's kind of warm today, warm and humid, and I know what humidity does to this stuff. So I've got the humidity down inside the shop down to less than 20% with the HVAC running. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull out some 380, put it on the paper, and then I'm gonna use a razor blade to smear it. I'm just gonna use a single edge razor to smear it on the backside of our actual parts, or actually the Turcite. So let's get a little bit down here. And this stuff has a definite shelf life. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, it's staying nice and liquid so far. I think I like it. It bonds skin like you wouldn't believe, much like any other super glue. And we're going down in the hole. Sorry I bumped the camera. And I think what we're gonna do is put it right in the vise right here. And let that clamp it up until it's done. I just put it in the Kurt vise here. Sorry guys, I was kind of in a hurry, but I got that one in the Kurt vise. Well, a little bit of residues there, cleans up nice. You just kind of get in there with a razor blade, and it'll peel right off of the hardened steel. It just lifts right up. Pretty simple. And as far as any glue you get on the actual Turcite, you can just drag it at a negative angle and just scrapes it right off. Like I said before, nothing sticks to this. But I got both sides cleaned up. Pretty good. And pretty good. There's still a little more cleanup to do, but I can feel that it's sitting proud. Now this should not fit in the machine now. Let's go find out. Okay, well here's our machine, and it starts in there because we got a little bit of lead in, and there's our slop. As soon as we drop it down onto the Turcite, nothing. So it has to be scraped to fit. She's not going to drop in the way it sits. So we do know we're sitting proud on both sides. Okay, well that's it for this week. Maybe I'll film everything during the week of me scraping this thing. I still need to set up my scraping tools. So that's going to be a video for another day. That part fits just dandy, but too bad that's not the part that we need to fit it in there. That's all right. I didn't want to make it perfect. I didn't want to make it just fall right in. I knew there was going to be a little bit of handwork to get it to fit. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week with the fitment of this thing.